Hello, my name is Dinny. Welcome to my Imperfect Knitting Life, episode 4. So today I'm going to talk about my knitting. I don't have any new finished objects, but I've got some works in progress that I've definitely made some progress on. If I get time, I will show a couple of my historic works of completed objects, and I'm going to update you on the mill, which is all very exciting. So I live in New Zealand in a place called Hamarana, just outside Rotorua, and I live on an acre block, and I have 2 sheep and I have a dog, and I bought a spinning mill. So if anyone hasn't watched the first 3 episodes, if you want to know a little bit more about that, just go back to those episodes and have a little look and you will find out more. So I am really enjoying this, but I am finding that I have to have a quiet time to be able to do it and feel comfortable doing it. And the last 2-3 weeks have been totally busy with school holidays and children. I've had lots of my grandchildren come and stay the night. My daughter and her little ones came and stayed the night. And then also my brother-in-law and sister-in-law from Australia came over to stay, and that actually is going to link in really well with the mill story, so I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But yes, I've had a lot of fun. I've also made sausages, some South African dried sausages called draaivors, and just basically been doing semi-retired life. So here we go. The first thing I'll start off with is my whips. So if you've been following, you know that I've been doing the Utivist, and I've actually made a little bit of progress. So I kind of thought it would take a while to knit this, but it's quite a quick knit in that it knits up quickly. So look how far I've got. I mean, last time I think I had literally just done a bit of the decreasing to the waist and I was starting up there. So now I am all the way up to the neck. I'm going to try it on and show you what it looks like, because I'm very happy with it. In fact, I can't actually wait to see it blocked. So, and then I'll explain it a little bit more when it's on. So remember, I cast on and then I did a lower back. I mean, with hindsight, I probably could have done a slightly bigger size, but I didn't really want something too big. Here's the little pocket markers that I put in. I have yet to see how that's being done. So if you look on the side, you can see it's decreased in and then it's increased out up to the armpits. Here is the bit that's going to be steeked for the zip. Having said that, I have a feeling I might make one and have no zip in, just like a pullover, because I think it's awesome. I would perhaps have liked that a little bit lower, but that's too bad. Separated at the sleeves and then did the yoke. Look at that. That is not bad. Quite happy with that, considering I haven't really done much of that since the Norwegian jersey. Just the odd little bit of baby stuff. And that's the whole of the yoke colour work complete. So now I've got to start doing the neck and then go on to the hood and then the sleeves, and it'll be done. So who knows? Hopefully I get enough time to do a bit of knitting in the next week or 2. And I'll give you an update on that. So enjoy. I'm enjoying it so much, and I really love the colours that I've picked. I've got a thing about burnt orange at the moment. It's such a warm colour, but you know, we're coming into spring, so I better get this done before it's too hot to knit with this kind of wool. And yeah, so that's the Utivist. I'll put the details, but like I said, I've talked about it in previous episodes. I don't really want to go into great detail about it now. The next work in progress I've got was, do you remember I started, because I knitted one for my daughter in this exact same yarn combination, which is the Holst garn. It's called Cider Noble, Holst garn Noble, and I've mixed that with a Isager kid silk, and that makes this fabric here. So I'm going to try it on. So again, I've just sort of taken a previous top that I made. I can't remember it because I thought it was I thought it was the magnolia, but it's not, because the magnolia is a round neck, but this is a raglan. So I've done to the sleeves, and I'm almost at the point I'm going to start doing the hem, the ribbing, because I don't want it, I really like something that just sort of sits in the waist or just below when it's closer. And I am going to do another feather and fan, like that blue one I did, feather and fan, and maybe take it down to here. I thought I'd make it longer, but I feel like the versatility of having something that little bit shorter will give me a little bit more wear as we get into slightly warmer weather. I need to hurry up with this because it's spring, and once it starts getting hot, it'll be too warm to wear it. But I do like it very, very much. And it's interesting because this is probably not, this is a bit brown for me, even though it is a sort of burnt orange, but it's more brown. And it was only when I knitted it up for Claire Marie that I realized how much I like the color, and I actually think it suits me. So yeah, really happy with that. And of course these little barber things, you know, these barber threads are very useful when you're wanting to try things on. The thing I love about top down and knitting in the round, and I really encourage someone who hasn't tried that to do it, is that you can try it on as you go, and you can see if you like the fit of something, and see if you're happy with the measurements, and then you can decide how long you want to make it. Or if you don't know how much yarn you've got and you're not worried if it's a long or a short sleeve, you can do it, finish all the ribbing, and then depending on how much yarn you've got left, you can decide how long you want to make your sleeve. And again, I like these up here. I like the neck quite close to mine, keeps me toasty, but you know, you could just as easily do it with more stitches to start with, and it would sit lower on the neck. And again, just adapt something that you've got top down, really basic. Just keep knitting and keep fitting it. You'll see that it'll come right. I love it. Anyway, so those are my works in progress. I have started the cardigan. What's it called? Ugh, totally forgotten. The one that I'm using my own yarn for, but it's not simple. So I've literally cast on, haven't even finished 2 rows because it's already doing wrap and turn, and my sister-in-law's here and we're talking a lot, so I can't concentrate on the pattern, and I'd much rather talk to her than concentrate on the pattern. So that's just going to have to wait, but as soon as I have something to show you, I promise I will. Okay. So the other thing I thought I could show you is, this is old stuff. So I don't know if any of you have looked at Miss Evil Knits. I know I've gone on about her, but I really like her. And I've actually gone back and I'm starting to re-watch her videos because I find them really inspirational. And she's just great at creative stuff and makes me feel good about trying it myself. So this is her Cuda sock pattern, and they're back online again. They were off for a while, but I could link in and get the Cuda sock pattern. And I've done this one for my husband, so you know, you can make it longer. They're really nice if you're wearing like gum boots or hiking boots, in fact shoes even. It's just that they're quite thick, because I knitted this in Nutiden yarn. So they have these little bags of, what did she call them? Is it jewels? But basically it's ends of lines, beginning of the next bit, change over, and so there's a lot of mixed colors in there, and they were perfect for that. I mean, you could really just keep knitting the same sock over and over and mix and match, who cares? But they're very nice. So he loves them, and he insisted that I take them out and show everybody how good they looked. So do you like those colors? So natural. I dream of being able to dye and make things like this, so it's very inspirational for me to see. The other thing is, I got this Nutiden yarn a little while ago, And it is, you know, like I've explained how easy it is to break this. So that's this one. It is so thin that even knitting it double, I have found that it breaks quite easily. So I've yet to find, I'm wondering whether or not I need to knit it a bit more loosely than this, because that was the start of a Versal, but it's not going to end up there. I've taken it off. And even, you know, like trying to rip back, I mean, that's just something you don't get much chance to do with Nutiden yarns, because you have to be really careful. Look, just look how it, see, it's already broken. So you have to be really careful. Anybody got good tips about that? Let me know. I'm thinking maybe just tying it around my fingers a bit more. But basically I've knit this and I don't really know that I'm going to be able to reuse that yarn. So I don't know if anybody's got this exact colour, and don't ask me what it is, because I shouldn't have thrown the bags away, but I did. And made anything good out of it, let me know, because I'm always looking for a good idea. Okay, that would be awesome. So but look at it, such a good color, love it, such a good color and squishy. I know everybody goes on about knitted in yarn and squishiness and all of that, but this really is fabulous, fabulous. Another thing that I made also for my husband, sorry, someone said a little piece of advice, get yourself a microphone. I'm really not feeling financially like I can get a microphone yet, and I will get a microphone at some point, but it's not going to be in the next couple of episodes, so I'll have to wait. But I made my husband this out of that Outlaw yarn that I made the blue top for me. The only difference between this, so I made it for my husband, the only difference between this and the one I made in terms of the yarn is this is a double knit or an 8-ply, and the one I made was in a 5-ply or sport weight yarn, but it's the same color. In fact, I got a little bit confused when I looked in the cupboard and I thought, oh, I've got more of that than I thought I had, but it left over, but it was actually 2 different weights of yarn. So that pattern is actually, it was Norwegian, or it is Norwegian, and it was free, and I Google translated it so that I could do it. I'm going to show you a picture. Sorry, I'll turn around. So what's it called? Herrevest or something. So this one here, if you look at it, actually has a cable in the front, but he did not want that. He just wanted it plain and simple for work. And you know what? They all took the mickey out of him when he was at work, because it was so old-fashioned to have a vest, but he doesn't care. It keeps him toasty warm and he loves it. So and that yarn is Outlaw yarn, and it is possum, merino and corridor. Wait, I'm going to get some and tell you. Oops. It is Polworth, alpaca and possum. So totally wrong the first time when I told you. A couple of people have actually said to me about the possum. They're quite fascinated that we put possum in our yarns, but it is a luxury yarn when you have possum in it, but it's quite a common luxury yarn in New Zealand because possums are a pest. They're an introduced species and they're a pest. They're literally munching away forests, and they eat birds' eggs, and yeah, they're basically a pest. And so they've been trapped, poisoned, all sorts of things, and then the fur is collected, and it's got a hollow core to the fur, and then if you spin it in, it's very warm, very light, and actually is very soft, and that's why it's such a popular luxury yarn. But I can highly recommend this if anybody can get their hands on it in New Zealand. It's not cheap, but it's very nice. So that's what I made that out for Roger. And another little thing, this is an old one, and it's actually a kitty pattern. I think it's the size 12 of the kitty pattern, which I actually made it for my grandson, and he didn't want it. So I thought, stuff it, I'm just going to wear it myself. So I did, and it fits. It's a little bit tight. I'll show it to you. But it is Hot Shot or Little Hoodlum. I've made heaps of these. I've probably made 10, 12, 14. I've got no idea. And I got the pattern, I saw on Ravelry, I actually got the pattern in 2011. So that's a lot of years of kiddies tops that I've been making with this pattern. And the yarn that I used is the Little Wool Company, which is Anna Grattan in New Zealand. And can you see? So that sits nicely. So the Little Hoodlum, basically, once you've done this basic raglan, you can make the sleeves. So this is for a 12-year-old. You can make the sleeves short or long. And then what you do here, if you want a hood, is you basically picking up stitches around the hood, around the neck, and then you knit the hood and you Kitchener stitch the top of the hood, and it looks great. Let me show you. I've done so many of these little hoodlums. Highly recommend it for little people. And again, it's top down, no stitching up. You just knit in the round. Well, you actually knit backwards and forwards to start with, then you join it in the round, go all the way down. It's a great little, and the pattern goes up to age 10. Okay, so this isn't age 10, but I have managed to wear it. And quite frankly, if you knit a slightly thicker wool with a bigger needle, you're going to get a bigger size, aren't you, really? So this is a double knit. Again, I don't know what the colour is, probably charcoal, because I think she uses pretty basic names for her yarn. And it is a super wash, and it's very reasonable. If you live in New Zealand, you probably have heard about the Little Wool Company, and she is online on Facebook, so have a little look. So that's my finished objects, old ones. What's the next thing I want to tell you? I have bought some wool yesterday. I took my sister-in-law and brother-in-law and went with my sister to a little place called Thames in the Coromandel. They were having a creative fibre exhibition for their local area, and they often, and I knew that they were, having some sales tables, so I had to go along because I had actually bought this, which is Prosper yarn, on Marketplace for $28, which is actually a really good price. And I needed to have something else to go with it so that I could make a shawl. And the shawl that I'm looking at, I was inspired by a podcaster called the Knitty Stew. I don't know if you've seen her podcast. I love it. She is in Canada, and she is a stewardess or on the planes there, on the domestic flights, and she does a fabulous podcast. And one of the things she made recently and completed, and I'd got this one skein and I thought, oh, that would actually be really nice. So I bought the pattern. It's a Locatelli pattern called PureJoy. So I'm going to do, obviously the light colour is going to be in my multi colour yarn, Prosper. I'll have to look up the details. I dropped the little piece of paper somewhere, but I'll find it. And then the dark colour, I bought a skein from Purple Sprouting, which is an indie dyer in a little wee place called Pirongia, which is a tiny little place. But you know, the great thing about things like doing these craft things is you can do them anywhere and put your stuff online. So yes, hand dyed in Pirongia, and that is called Luna. and it is 60% blue flace Leicester and 20% silk, and unfortunately 20% nylon, which I didn't see until I bought it, but hey ho, try not to buy nylon, but I've got it in this. I really wanted to try the blue flace Leicester, and that's what kind of swayed me to get this. But once I get going on that, I'll show you. Another purchase is this beautiful thing. It's a wool winder, as you're all going to know that, but it's an Ashford wool winder, and I had to wait months for them to come back because they run out very quickly, and they only kind of manufacture them once a year. But it does up to 100 grams on one ball, and it just works so beautifully. So I feel like it's a piece of art. I don't feel like it's an acquisition per se. It's just a piece of art that I like. So yeah, it's good. And then again, another naughty little buy on Marketplace, and somebody must have been destashing. I bought this Debbie Bliss Angel, and enough, look how much I got, all of that in there. Hey little red. Enough in there probably to make something like a ranunculus, or to double it up with something else. And I know that this sells for about 18 or 19 New Zealand dollars each, and I got them for $5 each, so I was so happy with that, and I'm going to use it sometime. So if you don't know what it is, it's kid mohair and silk, so 76% mohair and 24% silk. I think the colour's all right on me. I don't think I need to change it too much. Be nice for the winter, or maybe evening type stuff going out. I'll see. Yeah, anyway, all right, so that's that. So let's get on to the mill. When I sort of did my last podcast, I had a second date, and when I looked at the forecast, it was like rain, 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 and I was really worried about the carding machine getting wet. And the night before it was due to be moved, I messaged the carter and said that I was worried and that the machine really couldn't get wet, and he was still keen to do the move. But the next morning he messaged me at 7 o'clock and said, no, maybe we shouldn't do it. And I was like, yay. I mean, on the one hand, I was really disappointed because I wanted to get the carding machine over, because it's just been such a build up to that moment. And then on the other hand, I just thought, well, what's the point? If you ruin the machine, how are you even going to use it? So I was very happy about that. But then as the day went on, the weather was good and brightened up, and I was like, shouldn't have done it. But I don't even think they would have got their truck over the little hill, because when they did bring it on Tuesday, no, not Tuesday, we did it last Thursday, was it? Yeah, last Thursday. Well, even with a couple of days of good weather, the truck had to take 2 runs at it. So I will put on a video at the end of this. I've got a whole heap of pictures I want to put on to show you, just to sort of take you through the sequence of how that day went. And so on the day, fortunately, my brother-in-law was here, and I took him over. We left really early in the morning and we went over to Otorohanga, which is 2-hour drive. And when he got inside their big shed, he was like, wow, I had no idea that this is what you meant. But, you know, people often think it's a spinning wheel, and then I say, no, a mill, it's a bunch of machinery. But having said that, I was surprised that the machines were not as big as I expected. In my mind's eye, they were bigger, but they're big enough, because if they were much bigger, I would not have got the outfit into my shed. It was a fairly tight squeeze as it was. Anyway, so the guys came over. There was a flatbed truck, another truck, and then a closed covered truck to take all the bits and pieces. So 3 trucks came to pick up the stuff, and the flatbed truck had a crane on it. So did the other truck. They had a forklift which they had to take off, and then they moved the machines on with a forklift. Then they were taking another machine for somebody else and had to take things off and sort of jiggle it around. So it was a bit like a Lego thing where they were trying to get things stacked up at the most effective way. And then he went off and got a water tank which was on one of the trucks, and then they came over. So by the time they got to my house, I think it was like 6 in the evening, and it starts getting dark about 7, and it was dark as we were unloading. But this guy his name was Mark, the guy on the forklift, skillful, very, very skilled. They were all of them very focused on getting things done. They were solution focused. You can tell they've done this a lot before, and literally put it in place. And I was like, oh, can you just move it back a little bit more? And probably like moved it back a little bit more, and just positioned everything exactly where I needed it in the shed. And yeah, I just got it finished. But they finished at after 9 o'clock at night, and it was dark, really dark. You'll see from one of the photos, actually getting the trucks out, they had to back them down the paddocks back into the road. And my brother-in-law was like so happy with his torch, directing the traffic, stopping the traffic. You know, the passers-by were very good. They stopped and waited, and then the trucks went out and off they went. And then everything was literally shoved into the shed. And the next day we went and took out all the extraneous stuff that didn't need to be in there, and had a good look around. And it was like, wow-wee. I was so happy that I'd actually got it over. And then it dawned on me, oops, I have to learn how to use all these machines. In fact, at the time I was like, I literally couldn't remember a thing. But I kind of feel like once I get going, once it's up, I will work through the machines. So I'm going to start off with the first one, which is the picker. Learn how to use the picker, because I didn't even have a practice run at that. My husband did it and he said it was easy, but I'm looking at it now thinking, okay, we'll have to get it all set up. So I'm going to give you a little picture of what the picker is, and then also I might even like refer you to a YouTube video if I can, that shows how a picker is used. Or I'll just wait, and then when I run my picker, I'll put a little video in of the picker being run. Then after the picker, I'm going to use the carding machine. So the carding machine is what takes the fleece after it's been picked and fluffed, and then rolls it, and then it sort of comes out the other end like a dreadlock and coils into a bucket. But in order to do that, I need lots of clean fleece, and that is a mission in itself. So I washed 3 fleeces, and that took me a whole day. So it's not the most cost-effective thing to do, but it's part of the learning process. I'm now wanting to buy a washing machine, top loader, so I can just fill it up with hot water, drain it, spin it. Fill it up with hot water, drain it, spin it. At the moment, that's all being done up at my house, because there's a grey water system I want to get put in at the bottom, so that the water is not going into the mains, and is more ecologically or sustainably being dealt with. And the rainwater tank hasn't been connected to a pump or a tap where I can actually use it for cleaning the fleeces, so that's going to have to wait as well. And so I'm just doing it up outside the back door. We've got a hot tap outside, which is very serendipitous, and I'm using that. But yes, getting it dry is a big mish. And then when I went to Thames, I had a little chat with someone there, bought some dyes, some acid dyes, and she actually knew my husband because he did business mentoring a while ago. And she said, oh, Denny, oh, is your husband's name Roger? And I said, yes. And she goes, oh, I know Roger. And then went on about how he'd helped her out and what have you. They used to have a carding machine, which she sold. But they used it for alpacas, the same as Julie. And she said that if you're doing sheep fleece, that basically you could go through 3 kilos of sheep fleece an hour, which is a lot, really. I think it could be half a sheep fleece an hour. So, you know, you're having my 3 sheep fleeces is probably going to get done in half a day if I'm onto it. So yes, I've got to be washing. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I couldn't have washed before because it just rained and rained and rained, and I didn't have anywhere that I could just put it up with good airflow. But we're making space in the top room in the shed, and so hopefully I'll be able to do all of that down there within the next few months. So that's going to be exciting. Lots of little bits that I'll show you as I go along, but most of the pictures you're going to see, or the video at the end, they're all around the move and the machines where they're set at the moment. So yeah, was really exciting to get that all done. But now I'm definitely just so aware of how much more I've got to learn, and wishing that I'd learned a lot more about fleeces. But I'm a very kind of hands-on learner, so I feel like when I get a fleece and I know it's a Romney or a Corriedale and I'm dealing with it, I'm going to learn so much more about each of those fleeces. I'm going to start keeping like a little wee book, so that if someone gives me unknown sheep fleece, I can start looking at the different kinds of staple and get an idea of what I think it might be. Because very often when you ask people, they say, oh, I've got fleece, you can have it. And it's like, well, what kind of sheep is it? Oh, white? They've got no idea what it is. My dream is actually to end up working with some farms, small farms or lifestyle people, blocks that just have some small flocks, not even big flocks. And once I've sort of perfected that, once I know that, then I'll start looking at learning alpaca, and then maybe at some point, maybe offering services for other people to card their fleece or make yarn for them. But at this point, it really is my learning curve, and I don't want to put myself under any stress to be producing for anybody else. And then once I've got some yarn, then I will see what I want to do with it and see if anybody actually wants to buy it off me. So watch this space. I will see what I can share with you. Now, I know I've only done this is my 4th episode, but I wondered whether or not we might do a Q&A session. So what I'd like to do is invite you to ask me some questions. Then I will pick some questions out and then maybe spend 20-30 minutes as a separate podcast and just go through those questions. I also have actually had some really good feedback or comments, people telling me about themselves, that I want to pick some of those out and hopefully share them, but I might have to ask them first. But so many people have talked about what they do and have pointed me into different directions of useful videos to watch, or podcasts, or Instagram accounts, and they have been exceedingly useful for me. And some of the people that have sort of signed up on Instagram, when I follow them back and I see what they make, I'm blown away. I'm just like, they're, I think, way more arty and crafty than I am, and I'm just loving watching their stuff too. So again, if you want to, you can give me a thumbs up, and if you want notifications, press the bell. Subscribing is good. But hey, thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to catching up Hopefully I'm not going to be more than 2 weeks this time. I think maybe a couple of weeks, because this was a lot because of the school holidays and I was busy with the kids. But yes, thank you so much for coming to see what I'm up to, and I will catch up with you soon. Bye. Glowing. It's just glowing.